did you know that certain vitamins, the very nutrients we often associate with better health, can actually accelerate leg muscle weakening after age 60? It's a surprising and counterintuitive truth, especially given how many people over 60 turn to supplements with the hope of staying mobile, strong, and independent. And yet, some of the most popular vitamins on the shelves today may be silently contributing to muscle loss, slower reflexes, and even greater risk of fall. Now, before we go any further, let me be clear. Vitamins are essential for health, but the story doesn't end there. Because in the world of nutrition and aging, context is everything, especially when it comes to how vitamins interact with your neuromuscular system, your hormones, and even the mitochondria inside your muscle cells. What's happening in your body after 60 is vastly different than what's happening at 30. And if we don't adjust our approach to supplementation, if we keep using outdated or misinformed routines, we may be doing more harm than good. So today we're going to dive into a very specific problem that affects millions of people, but is rarely discussed in this way. How too commonly consumed vitamins may actually weaken your leg strength, compromise your mobility, and set the stage for long-term muscle atrophy. This isn't about fear, it's about precision. Because the more precisely we understand what's happening inside the aging body, the more effectively we can intervene. Here's what the research shows. As we age, our muscles become more sensitive to imbalances in key nutrients. And when certain vitamins are taken in excess or without the right nutritional context, they can disrupt calcium signaling, impair mitochondrial efficiency, or even blunt the body's natural anabolic response to movement and protein. In other words, the very nutrients you thought were helping may be subtly working against your strength, especially in your legs, which are some of the most metabolically and neurologically demanding muscles in your body. In this episode, we'll explore the 2 specific vitamins that can contribute to leg weakening after 60, the biological mechanisms behind how this happens, grounded in neuroscience and physiology, the evidence-based thresholds and dosing mistakes to watch out for, and most importantly, what you can do instead, the protocols, food swaps, and supplement strategies that actually support leg strength, not sabotage it. We'll go deep into the science, but we'll also keep it practical with clear tools you can start using today. Let's begin. If I told you that one of the most harmful vitamins for your leg strength after 60 is vitamin A, you might be surprised. After all, vitamin A has long been marketed as essential for vision, immune support, even skin health. And that's true in the right dose. But here's what the research shows. When vitamin A is taken in excess, particularly through high-dose supplements or overly fortified foods, it can act more like a toxin than a tonic. And one of the systems it quietly disrupts is your muscle-building machinery. Let's break this down. Your muscle tissue, especially the large muscles in your legs, depends on a constant process of renewal called muscle protein synthesis. This is your body's way of repairing and building new muscle fibers. It's a delicate and highly regulated process involving anabolic hormones like testosterone and growth hormone, amino acid uptake from your diet, and intracellular signaling pathways like mTOR, a key switch for muscle growth. Now here's where excess vitamin A becomes a problem. Studies from the Journal of Nutritional Biochemistry and Clinical Nutrition have shown that retinol, the active form of vitamin A, can suppress mTOR signaling when present in high concentrations. Think of mTOR as the ignition switch for muscle synthesis. If retinol overloads the system, it's like flooding the engine. The signal to grow weakens and muscle maintenance falters. There's more. Excess vitamin A competes with vitamin D for absorption and receptor binding, and vitamin D is crucial for muscle function, especially in the lower body. In a study published in Frontiers in Endocrinology, researchers noted that individuals with elevated retinol and low vitamin D had significantly weaker quadriceps strength and slower walking speeds, key markers of declining leg performance in older adults. Have you ever noticed that despite walking or exercising, your legs still feel weak or unresponsive? This imbalance might be playing a role, and here's the real kicker. You might be overconsuming vitamin A without realizing it. Many breakfast cereals, dairy products, and nutrition bars are fortified with preformed vitamin A, a retinol palmitate or acetate. Then, if you're also taking a multivitamin or cod liver oil supplement, you may be stacking doses far above the recommended daily allowance, which is 900 micrograms REA for men and 700 micrograms for women. Chronic intake above 3,000 micrograms per day, something that's shockingly easy to reach, has been linked to reduced bone density, increased fracture risk, and muscle atrophy, particularly in postmenopausal women and aging men. So, what's the tool you can use? A simple protocol is this. Get your vitamin A primarily from beta-carotene-rich foods like sweet potatoes, carrots, and leafy greens. Beta-carotene is converted into vitamin A by your body only when needed, providing a natural safety check. If you're taking a multivitamin, check the label. Look for beta-carotene as the source of vitamin A rather than retinol palmitate. Avoid stacking fortified foods and supplements that contain the same active vitamin A form. And if you're over 60, consider getting your serum retinol and vitamin D levels tested annually. It's a low-cost but high-value lab marker that can tell you a lot about your risk for sarcopenia. What's happening in your brain and body when you lower excessive vitamin A? Your anabolic signaling normalizes. Your vitamin D becomes more available to your neuromuscular system, and your muscle cells regain the capacity to grow and regenerate. You're not just preserving your leg strength, you're rebuilding the very metabolic foundation that lets you stay mobile, balanced, and confident in every step. And that's just the first of two vitamins we need to be conscious with. We often think of antioxidants like vitamin E as the guardians of health, protecting ourselves from damage, boosting skin radiance, and keeping the aging process at bay. But here's a surprising insight that many people, including some clinicians, overlook. Too much vitamin E can impair your ability to build and maintain muscle, especially in the legs, by blocking one of the most powerful biological triggers for strength adaptation, oxidative stress. Yes, you heard that right. Let's start with the science. When you engage in any form of movement, walking, resistance training, even climbing stairs, your muscle fibers experience tiny amounts of stress. This stress isn't a flaw, it's the very stimulus your body uses to grow stronger. What's happening at the cellular level is a surge in free radicals, reactive molecules, that sound scary, but in the right amount act as messengers to tell your body, we need to adapt, we need to repair, we need to grow. This process is called hormesis, a phenomenon where low doses of stressors actually make your system stronger, and the brain and muscles thrive on it. But when you flood your system with high doses of antioxidants like vitamin E, especially the synthetic alpha tocopherol form found in many supplements, you blunt this hormetic signal. Studies published in the Journal of Physiology and Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences have shown that athletes and older adults who took high-dose vitamin E, 400 IU or more daily, experienced less muscle gain, less strength improvement, and even poorer insulin sensitivity compared to those who didn't supplement. Have you ever started an exercise routine, felt sore, rested, and then didn't get stronger? It's possible your antioxidant levels were too high to let the muscle rebuild itself properly. Here's what the research shows. Oxidative stress triggers the release of signaling molecules like PGC1A and IL-6, which are crucial for mitochondrial growth and muscle regeneration. But when high-dose vitamin E mutes these signals, it's like turning off the alarm before the fire department gets the message. No signal, no adaptation. This is particularly concerning after 60, when our natural ability to adapt to stress is already reduced. The aging neuromuscular system relies even more on proper signaling to retain leg strength, balance, and coordination. Blunting that signal with excessive vitamin E can accelerate sarcopenia, the age loss of muscle mass, particularly in fast twitch muscle fibers used for stability and quick response. So what's the tool you can apply? Here's a protocol grounded in current science. Avoid supplementing with high-dose standalone vitamin E unless medically indicated of reptile dehydration, and the upper safe limit is around 1,000 milligrams, 500 U per day. But negative effects have been documented well below that, starting at 400 IU per day. If you do take vitamin E, opt for mixed tocopherols, not just alpha tocopherol. This mimics how vitamin E appears in whole foods and supports a more balanced antioxidant profile. Focus on food-based sources of vitamin E, sunflower seeds, almonds, spinach, and avocados, all of which deliver vitamin E alongside fiber, polyphenols, and trace minerals that support leg health. If you're doing strength training or balance work, allow for natural oxidative signaling post-exercise. Wait at least 2 hours before consuming antioxidant-rich supplements or smoothies. Let your body respond before you rush to repair it. If this insight is helping you, consider subscribing. There's more where this came from. And each new video is designed to give you evidence-backed tools to feel stronger, sharper, and more in control of your health. Remember, aging isn't just about loss, it's about recalibration. When we stop over-supplementing with nutrients that were meant to support, not suppress, our biological intelligence, we unlock our body's own ability to adapt, grow, and perform. Vitamin E isn't the enemy, but high isolated doses, especially after age 60, can disrupt the very stress signals your muscles need to stay strong. Most people think of vitamin B6 as a harmless, even essential part of a daily supplement routine. After all, it plays a critical role in over 100 enzyme reactions, especially in the brain and nervous system. It helps make neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, which regulate mood, cognition, and sleep. So how could it possibly be harmful, especially for older adults? Here's the surprising truth. Excess vitamin B6, particularly from supplements, is one of the few vitamins that can directly damage the peripheral nervous system. And when that happens, one of the first signs you'll feel is weakness, tingling, or burning, often in the legs. This condition is called sensory neuropathy, and it mimics symptoms you might assume are just normal aging. Reduced balance, leg fatigue, or a strange numbness in the feet. But in reality, it's often the result of chronic over-supplementation. Let's unpack the science. In 2004, the Institute of Medicine set the upper safe limit for vitamin B6 at 100 mils per day. But many over-the-counter B-complex supplements contain 200 to 500% of that amount, and some energy-boosting formulations even go as high as 1,000 milligrams. Here's the problem. Vitamin B6 is water-soluble, but unlike other B vitamins, it accumulates in nerve tissue, where it can cause axonal damage if consistently elevated. Multiple case reports and clinical reviews, including research in neurology and the Journal of Clinical Neuromuscular Disease, have shown that even moderate excess, doses as low as 200 milligrams per day for just a few months, can lead to degeneration of sensory nerve fibers, particularly in the legs and feet. The result? You feel less stable. Your gait changes, your reaction time slows down, and your risk of falls, one of the leading causes of injury and mortality in seniors, increases significantly. Have you ever felt a weird buzzing or numbness in your feet when you walk? That's not just poor circulation. It could be B6 toxicity interfering with your proprioception, the brain's ability to track limb position and movement. So what's actually happening in your nervous system? Vitamin B6 in excess disrupts calcium channels in neurons, which alters the way electrical signals travel down the peripheral nerves. Over time, this desensitizes the receptors involved in spatial awareness and muscle coordination. And because the legs have the longest nerve fibers in the body, they're usually the first to show signs of damage. Here's a simple rule of thumb. The longer the nerve, the sooner it suffers. What can you do about it? Here's a science-backed protocol. Check your supplement labels. If your multivitamin or B complex contains more than 10 to 20 magnums of B6 per day, consider switching to a lower dose or food-based version. If you've been taking high-dose B6 for several months and feel numbness or instability in your legs or feet, speak with your doctor about testing serum B6 levels and conducting a neurological exam. Prioritize food sources of B6: turkey, salmon, chickpeas, bananas, and fortified oats. These deliver B6 in forms your body recognizes and regulates naturally. If you need to supplement due to deficiency, stick with pyridoxal 5-phosphate, P5P, the bioactive form, and only under medical supervision. Empowering your nervous system starts with removing the silent stressors. And for many people over 60, that means rethinking the idea that more is better when it comes to vitamins. There's a difference between sufficiency and excess. And after 60, the nervous system becomes more sensitive to that distinction. B6 is critical, but too much, taken chronically, can slowly rob you of the stability, speed, and sensory clarity that define quality movement. And if you've been getting value from this, consider hitting that like button. It helps the algorithm bring this science-based content to more people. And if you want to stay on top of new insights every week, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. How one overlooked mineral imbalance can amplify the damaging effects of vitamin excess, and what neuroscience says you can do to protect your legs, your balance, and your independence for life. You've probably heard that magnesium is essential, but what most people don't realize is that after age 60, a lack of magnesium doesn't just impact sleep or stress, it directly weakens your muscles and amplifies the damaging effects of vitamin toxicity. In fact, magnesium deficiency is one of the most underdiagnosed causes of leg weakness in older adults, and it plays a pivotal role in how your body handles both nutrients and neuromuscular coordination. Here's what the research shows. Magnesium is a cofactor in over 300 enzymatic reactions, many of which govern muscle contraction, nerve conduction, and cellular energy production. Without enough magnesium, your muscles can't fully relax. They stay partially contracted, which makes them more prone to cramping, fatigue, and eventually breakdown. Let's look at a key study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, which found that older adults with lower magnesium levels had significantly higher rates of muscle wasting, slower walking speed, and reduced leg power, even after accounting for age, protein intake, and physical activity. So what's happening inside your muscles when magnesium runs low? Imagine your muscle cells are like tiny batteries. Magnesium helps them store and use ATP, the molecule that fuels every movement. When magnesium is deficient, ATP becomes less effective. The result? Your muscles start to lose their strength, coordination declines, and your legs, which carry your body all day, feel heavier, slower, and less responsive. But it gets more complicated. Low magnesium magnifies the toxicity of other nutrients, especially calcium and certain B vitamins. Here's why. Magnesium acts as a natural calcium blocker at the cellular level. It helps keep calcium outside the cell until it's needed. But when magnesium is low, calcium floods into cells uncontrollably, which can lead to hyperexcitability of nerves and overstimulation of muscles. That's why many people experience spasms, twitches, or cramps when their magnesium is depleted. And when combined with high doses of vitamin B6, as we discussed in the last section, the problem compounds. Too much B6 can overstimulate nerve activity. And without magnesium to modulate that activity, the system becomes unstable. Your legs, being the furthest from your spinal cord and brain, are the first to show signs of this decline. So what can you do? Here's a practical protocol grounded in neuroscience and physiology. Aim for 320 to 400 mg of magnesium per day, preferably from food sources. Leafy greens, pumpkin seeds, black beans, dark chocolate, and avocados. If supplementing, choose magnesium glycinate or magnesium malate, forms that are well absorbed and less likely to cause digestive discomfort. Avoid magnesium oxide. It's cheap but poorly absorbed and often leads to GI issues. Time your intake in the evening when magnesium naturally supports parasympathetic nervous system activation, aiding in muscle recovery and restful sleep. If you take a multivitamin, check whether it includes high levels of calcium or B6 and adjust accordingly. Balancing these nutrients is more important than megadosing any single one. And let me ask you, have you ever noticed that your legs feel stronger, more stable, or less prone to cramping after a really good night's sleep or after a day of better hydration and nutrition? That's not a coincidence. Magnesium is at the heart of neuromuscular recovery, and without it, every other health protocol struggles to work. It's the hidden amplifier, the mineral that unlocks the full potential of your muscles, your nervous system, and your longevity. If this insight is helping you see the bigger picture of leg health and aging, consider subscribing, because each week we go deeper into the science of optimizing your body and brain. In the next section, we're going to explore how imbalanced vitamin D and calcium levels, even when well-intentioned, can interfere with leg muscle regeneration, especially in older adults. And we'll talk about the exact timing of supplements that neuroscience says matters most for muscle strength and coordination. For years, we've been told that vitamin D and calcium are the holy grail for strong bones. And while that's true in part, what's often missing from the conversation is how these two nutrients, when imbalanced or mistimed, can actually work against your muscle strength, especially in your legs. Here's what most people don't know. Calcium is not just a bone mineral. It's also a powerful electrical signal in your muscles and nervous system. And when it enters muscle cells at the wrong time or in the wrong amount, it can cause dysfunction, fatigue, and even long-term muscle weakening. Let's start with the basics. Vitamin D helps your body absorb calcium. That's why they're often paired together in supplements. But here's where things get tricky. If you're taking high doses of both, especially without enough magnesium or vitamin K2 to guide where that calcium goes, it can accumulate in soft tissues, including your muscles and arteries, instead of staying in your bones. This is what researchers call ectopic calcification, and it's especially common in older adults with slower nutrient metabolism. A 2020 study in Nutrients found that excessive calcium intake, particularly from supplements, was linked to a higher risk of vascular stiffness and muscle fatigue. Not strength. What's happening in your muscles is a kind of static. Calcium ions flood in and stay too long, making the muscles more rigid and less responsive. And because your leg muscles carry the most load and are furthest from the heart's circulation, they're among the first to suffer from these mineral imbalances. Here's an analogy. Think of calcium like electricity and your muscle as a light bulb. When the voltage is controlled, the bulb shines. But if the voltage surges, as it can with too much unbuffered calcium, the bulb burns out or flickers. Your legs may start to feel like they're losing power, weak, achy, sluggish. This is where timing and cofactors become crucial. If you're taking calcium in the morning and then going long stretches without movement or muscle activation, it tends to accumulate passively in tissue, especially if your circulation is slower due to age or inactivity. But when taken after weight bearing or exercise and alongside magnesium and vitamin K2, calcium is more likely to be directed to where it's actually needed, your bones. Here's a protocol the research supports. Never take calcium and vitamin D blindly. Get your blood levels checked, particularly 25-hydroxy vitamin D, to see if you truly need supplementation. If you do supplement, aim for vitamin D3 in the 1,000 to 2,000 IU range daily, paired with 90 to 180 mcg of vitamin K2, MK7, to help calcium bind to bone rather than muscle or arteries. Calcium should come from food whenever possible. Dark greens, sardines, tahini, and dairy are well regulated by the body's natural pathways. If using a calcium supplement, keep the dose under 500 milligrams per sitting and take it with a meal that includes protein and fat, not on an empty stomach. Time your calcium after physical activity, not before bed or first thing in the morning when blood flow and muscle activation are low. Now let's connect this to the bigger picture. If your legs feel stiff in the morning or you've noticed decreased mobility despite following all the right advice for bone health, this might be why. It's not just what you take, it's how your body processes it, when you take it, and what's missing in the equation. Have you ever felt worse after starting a calcium or vitamin D supplement? That's not your imagination. It's not a sign of aging. It's a sign of imbalance, and it's something you can change with the right science-based strategy. Now we'll uncover one final, often overlooked vitamin interaction, a common mistake in multivitamins that silently reduces leg muscle performance, and the exact routine that neuroscience suggests can restore neuromuscular balance and strength. You might not expect a B vitamin, something so often associated with energy, nerve health, and vitality, to actually harm your muscles. But when it comes to vitamin B6, more isn't always better. Vitamin B6, also known as pyridoxine, plays a crucial role in neurotransmitter production and nerve signaling. It's essential for brain function and helps your muscles contract efficiently. But here's what most people don't realize. In excessive doses, vitamin B6 becomes neurotoxic, especially to the peripheral nerves that control your legs. This is not theoretical. It's well documented in medical literature, including a comprehensive review published in Toxicology Letters in 2017. That paper highlights that daily intakes of just 100 to 200 mgs of B6, amounts found in many high-potency multivitamins, can cause nerve damage over time, especially in adults over 60 whose detoxification and nerve repair systems slow with age. What happens is this: too much pyridoxine overwhelms the nerve endings, particularly in the longer nerves that travel to your feet and legs. Over time, this leads to a form of sensory neuropathy where your nerves lose precision, your balance falters, and your legs may feel numb, weak, or like they're buzzing or not connected to your movement. Have you ever felt that odd sensation where your legs feel fine one moment and strangely weak or distant the next, especially when standing after sitting for a while? That could be B6-induced neuropathy. And here's the kicker. Many people are unknowingly taking 10 to 20 times the recommended daily allowance of B6 because of fortified cereals, energy drinks, and stacked supplements. The RDA for vitamin B6 is just 1.5 to 1.7 milligrams per day for older adults, and the tolerable upper intake level is set at 100 mg per day. But even intakes above 50 milligrams for long periods have been shown to cause nerve dysfunction in susceptible individuals. So what's the solution? First, check your supplements. Look at your multivitamin, B complex, and energy formulations. If you're taking more than 50 milligrams of B6 per day, especially in the form of pyridoxine hydrochloride, it's time to reassess. Here's a simple tool to apply. Switch to food-based sources of vitamin B6 whenever possible, like wild-caught salmon, turkey, spinach, and chickpeas, which provide safe, bioavailable levels. If you do need a supplement for a clinical reason, choose the activated form, pyridoxal 5-phosphate, P5P for short, at low doses under 10 mg, and only under guidance. Pair B6 with magnesium, which helps buffer nerve excitability and supports proper muscle contraction. And most importantly, listen to your legs. If you feel tingling, numbness, or a subtle drop in coordination, pause your supplements and consult a professional. Now let's move from warning to empowerment. Here's a neuromuscular reset routine backed by science that can help restore proper signaling between your brain and your legs, especially after long periods of imbalance or weakness. Start your day with light ankle pumps and toe lifts while still in bed. This stimulates circulation and wakes up the nerve muscle connections without loading the joints. Engage in daily proprioceptive activity, something that challenges your balance gently, like standing on one foot for 30 seconds per leg or walking in a straight line heel to toe. Add 10 minutes of walking barefoot on varied surfaces such as carpet, grass, or textured mats. This stimulates dormant mechanoreceptors in your feet and strengthens leg coordination. Finish with 1 minute of gentle calf raises at the wall. The simplest yet most effective move to signal strength and power to your leg muscles through both nerves and blood vessels. These aren't just physical movements, they're recalibration exercises for your nervous system, backed by studies in neuroplasticity and balance training. They help reawaken the signals that may have gone quiet due to toxicity or neglect, and they're powerful tools for leg longevity. Now we'll bring everything together. The two most harmful vitamins for leg weakening after 60, the neuroscience behind how they disrupt strength, and a unified strategy to protect your muscles, nerves, and vitality. As we've explored today, the journey to maintaining strong, resilient legs after age 60 isn't just about staying active or eating well. It also involves understanding how certain commonly consumed vitamins can quietly undermine your strength and mobility. The two most harmful vitamins we've uncovered, vitamin D in excessive, poorly timed doses, and vitamin B6 in forms and amounts that overwhelm your nerves, serve as powerful reminders that more is not always better. Your body, especially as it ages, demands precision and balance, not excess or neglect. Here's what the research shows. Vitamin D, when taken in large bolus doses or without considering your natural sunlight exposure, can disrupt calcium metabolism and subtly weaken the muscles in your legs. On the other hand, vitamin B6, while essential for nerve function, can become a neurotoxin at high supplemental levels, causing sensory neuropathy that makes your legs feel numb, weak, or disconnected. Both of these vitamin issues are not only scientifically documented, but also deeply relevant for anyone committed to preserving independence, preventing falls, and maintaining the joy of movement well into later decades. What's remarkable is that the solutions are both accessible and actionable. A simple tool to apply is to reassess your supplement routine today. Avoid megadoses of vitamin D supplements and opt for consistent, moderate sunlight exposure for your daily vitamin D needs. Likewise, check your B6 intake carefully. Choose food sources over high-dose supplement and pay attention to any tingling or weakness sensations in your legs. Beyond supplements, integrating movement-based neuromuscular exercises can rewire your brain-leg connection. Starting each day with mindful ankle pumps, balance work, barefoot walking, and gentle calf raises is more than physical exercise. It's a form of nervous system maintenance, encouraging plasticity and resilience. The benefit of these changes isn't just stronger legs, it's better brain function, improved emotional regulation through the dopamine and serotonin pathways involved in movement, and a greater sense of autonomy and confidence. When your legs are strong and your nervous system is finely tuned, you stand taller, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. So here's my invitation to you. Today, choose one small but powerful change. Maybe it's tossing out that high-dose B6 supplement or